So this process that you're going through, you're learning so much about your discipline, but you're also learning a lot about life. So I'm interested in like what are some of the more significant insights that you've captured and their backstories.
Yeah, I think working with immersive technology, some of the insights that have really stuck with me are, especially when we're talking about sight in particular, is about just how sight really is the sense that creates context, that creates expectations and assumptions for an audience around environment, around character, around objects in the space. And at the end of the day, for most of us, it's the sense that we're the most aware of that gets our attention first.
Mm.
And so as content creators, whether it's in immersive theater or using immersive technology, we can really take advantage of that to kind of orient our audience. And it can also be something that creates delight by subverting those expectations. So I'll give you an example of this. There's a really wonderful narrative VR piece called Wolves in the Walls. And at the beginning of this VR experience, one of the first things that you see is a young girl who's standing a little bit below you, and she's looking up at you and says something along the lines of like, "Oh, hi there. Wait a minute. This isn't quite right." And she takes her hand and wipes it in front of your eyes, in front of your vision. And as she does, your vision sort of blurs out and then everything goes black.
Huh.
And then you hear the sound of chalk. And as you hear the sound of chalk, your vision starts to come back and you now have a different point of view. You now see the little girl at eye level. And you understand a lot in that moment. You understand that you have a relationship with this little girl and that you're a creation of hers. She doesn't like how you came out at first. And so she smudges you out and then redraws you so that the height is correct. So you're at her eye level. And so this is a great little bit of visual storytelling that really helps to tell you quite a lot about what sort of story world you're in, tells you a lot about this principal character that you're going to interact with throughout the story. And it tells you a lot about who you are in this space and a bit about how you're going to interact with the story as it goes on. And when we're talking about immersive experiences, and especially ones where the audience is going to have a first-person experience, where they're going to interact directly, as opposed to being a voyeur, where they're sitting, if it's in a theater, they're sitting behind the proscenium arch, just away in the audience, passively watching, or if you're watching television in your living room, when they're inside of the story world, we need to often onboard them in this way to help them understand what the rules of the world are and what their place is in the world. And so I think those are kind of some key insights from working with immersive performance and immersive technology. And then I think one other area that has been really interesting to explore is around inattentional blindness. And intentional blindness is the phenomenon of when there is too much visual information coming into us for us to pay attention to all of it, right? Magicians take advantage of this phenomenon all the time. They create something interesting that's going on in their right hand, and that's what we look at, while their left hand may be doing something else in plain sight that they don't want us to see, and we don't notice it at all. And so again, this is an interesting phenomenon that we can take advantage of, so that we may want to change something about an environment or something else that's going on. We can sometimes make that change in plain sight of our audience, whether it's something that's virtual or something that's physical in the space. And if we create something else that's more interesting for them to put their attention on visually, they won't notice it. And the flip side is true too, right? Especially when we're creating work with a spatial digital content in VR and AR, it's really easy to put too much in somebody's field of view going on at the same time. And so it's easy to disorient our audience in a way that we don't intend, because they're not sure what to look at. There's too much moving around. There's too much to take in all at once. Usually for most people, if they're in a VR headset for the first time, that's just a novel experience that takes a lot of their attention. And so we have to be very aware as content creators about how we're leading our audience visually so that we don't overwhelm them.
So, I mean, that's an amazing perspective for the audience members.